Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday Event Ensemble, and we are so thrilled to have, she said that she's from Pittsburgh, PA, but she lives in Alabama. And with a name like Sarah Mae, sure sounds like she should have been from the South in the first place. Sarah Mae Dickinson, so happy to have you join us. I'm going to drop your contact information right here in the chat so that everybody knows who you are and how they can contact you. And without further ado, I'm going to let you do you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Scott, I have to say, I enjoy nothing more than watching your introductions because it's kind of like seeing the inner workings of a radio DJ, which is like a 5 o'clock drive time situation when you come on air, and it's fantastic. So, hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy April Fool's Day. As a proper April Fool's Day situation, we get to talk about sales today. I know you all are super pumped about that. So don't even joke about it. I know sales is the most fun part of what you do. In fact, that's probably not the case, and it's why I have a job. So I am super pumped to be here today to talk to you guys, to chat a little bit about what you guys do, help you in any way that I can. And I am going to go ahead and share my screen because today we are talking about something super fun and close to my heart, which is how we turn more leads into consults and therefore into more sales. So today, we're not only going to go through kind of some tips, tricks, and tools to do that, but I've provided a downloadable to Scott that he's going to send to you guys that I'm going to talk to you about today too. So you're going to see it on air. But I want you guys to kind of know how to take someone through the sales process. Just by a show of hands, who here feels like they have a strong sales process? I'm seeing some hands go up, some not, some low.
There you go.
About half and half. I love that. So we're going to be talking today about kind of the way I see some great ways that you can incorporate a strong sales process. I hope those of you that already have one can take away some good tips and tricks. And then for those of you that don't, I want you to take today as an opportunity to kind of think about that part of your business. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about who I am, hi, and why I'm here. Two of the biggest questions that you need to answer as far as your sales go for this year. I know it's already April, but we want to kind of think about this year in totality and how we can be accomplishing our goals. Why you need more than just marketing. A lot of folks consider themselves, if they just market more, it's going to automatically lead to more sales, and that's not always the case. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And then the lead to consult map. Yay! The downloadable that's going to help you kind of see a sales process you can be using and how you can incorporate that. Know that I have the chat up, so please feel free to literally just shout out a question if you have one or put one in the chat. I love all questions, so please feel free to bring them up. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how you can implement the sales process into your own life, into your own business, and what next steps you can take away. So first and foremost, hi, it's me. I'm Sarah Mae. Yes, I am from Pittsburgh. I actually grew up, my maiden name was Sarah McLaughlin, so you're welcome for that as well. Fun fact, Scott, don't know if you knew that. So always super fun. I spent about 15 plus years in sales yeah, exactly. Thank you, David. Previous to my position now. I was in every kind of sales that you can imagine, from phone sales to door-to-door to long-term relationship building to fundraising to management to everything you could possibly think of. At the age of 30, I got the opportunity to start my own business because my husband got to work remote and we moved to Alabama, and he turned to me and said, "You're the entrepreneur, do it." And I had no idea what that meant. And I got on a website called Upwork. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, and saw some postings for sales coach, business coach, had no idea that was a thing. And I started working with a few clients just kind of on the side, and it has grown from there. Much like what I was talking to Brandy about in her story, it was really just about sharing my background and really just about sharing what I had done with people and coaching them through some of the difficulties that come along with sales. So often, I work with folks like yourselves who have these incredible talents, who do these amazing things, but obviously, because you weren't necessarily a salesperson, you didn't learn all of the nonsense that I've learned at all the different companies I've been at. So really just kind of implementing some of that. And in the background, I always kept a sales job, a VP of sales position. And this past summer, I took on a wedding client, a wedding planner out of Texas, and started implementing all the things that I do normally. But I had no idea that the wedding industry didn't have a lot of salespeople in it necessarily. As I can see everyone on this call, for the most part, probably you are the salesperson in your company. You are the VP of sales. So from that, I created what's called Mae Wedding Sales. It's my newest company where we lift and shift the sales process for those in the wedding industry. So we take on all of the processes that we're going to talk about today. We follow up with all your leads. We build consults for you. We follow up with all the proposals, all that kind of nonsense. And then I also coach. So that's me. You can know all about me. If you have questions, please let me know. So why am I here? 2020 was bonkers, and it's been an interesting turn into 2021. Today, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what we've learned, what we can use from this, how we can move forward with what we want, and most importantly, kind of talk about what 2020 did for the industry. So when we have a change in a market, much like what 2020 was, it's going to shift things moving forward. We know that, yes, some folks think that the things that happened in 2020 are just an ancillary situation and it's isolated and it's never going to happen again. I think most of us on this call probably know that that's not the case, right? There are things that happened in 2020 that, yes, we'll go back to quote, quote, normal, whatever that is, / there are things that are going to continue on. I don't know if you guys visit Chick-fil-A as often as I do, but the thought that I can drive up and they bring my food out to me, I'm not letting anyone change that. So there are silver linings that have happened during COVID that our clients are going to want to be able to pull forward with. And we want to talk about that and make sure that we're using that to our advantage. Okay, 2 big questions I want you guys thinking about when it comes to your sales process. So first and foremost, who on this call sits down and thinks about their sales on a regular basis? Let's say monthly. I see some hands, fabulous. If you have not done so for the month of March, today and this weekend is a great time to do this. Today is April 1st, so it's a great time. Also, April is kind of soft considered the beginning of the second quarter. So it's a way for you to look at the first quarter of the year and see, okay, where are we? What's happened? Somehow everyone wanted 2021 to get here, and all of a sudden we're in the second quarter of 2021 already. So take some time to kind of think about where your sales are, what is working for you, what's not, and how we can move forward with that. But the 2 biggest questions I want you to spend time on is how many clients do you need per year to reach your goals? So think about 2021, we're going to talk about that. And are your packages priced correctly to meet those goals? These 2 questions are the most common issues that I see people run into all the time. 1, most commonly people don't even know how much money they want to make. So we aren't really working towards any sort of goal. We know that we want to make, insert number here, but we're not thinking about it regularly and how we can get there. And then number 2, we act as if our goal and how much we want to make is somehow not connected to what we're charging people. Those 2 things need to be lined up. We need to make sure that the cost in which we are charging people is going to lead to the end result of how much money we want to make. So let's talk about that. So how many clients do you need to make per year to reach your goals? Who here feels like they know the answer to that question?
Do you know the answer?
No, I have to do it.
I just heard someone saying that they have to do the equation. Don't worry, we're going to work through that together so that you can do that quickly. So first and foremost, I want you to know that a lot of people in 2020, I heard this from a lot of people in the wedding industry, pulled back a little bit. Maybe they pulled back on their marketing. Maybe they pulled back on advertising. Maybe they pulled back just in general. I want you to know that if you did that, that's okay. That time is over, my friend. First and foremost, according to the CDC, on average, there are 2.5 million weddings a year in the US. That's the craziest pie I have ever seen when it comes from a sales standpoint. That's wild. Last year, about half of those people still got married. So even in a year that we thought was terrible, 1.25 million weddings were still occurring. That means if you divide by 50, on average, there's still 25,000 weddings happening in your state on a bad year. So know that the opportunity is there. Regardless of if it's a bad year, regardless of if it's a good year, people, the craziest and most wonderful thing about the wedding industry is people are still going to get married. And fun fact, the pricing of that wedding doesn't really change a whole lot. Last year it went down. So the average price of a wedding is somewhere around 33,000 in the US. For you guys in Arizona, it's about 29,000. Last year it went down about 10,000, but so to around 19, 20,000. But for most vendors, it didn't affect them because that price difference was really coming from having less people at the wedding. So venues charging less, catering having to charge less, but a lot of vendors, that didn't really affect what they were doing. So know that not only were most people still spending the same amount they would have had they been able to have the large amount of people, but second, they weren't necessarily skimping on a lot of those areas. And most importantly, I don't know if you've read some of the latest stuff, but 2021 is trending towards back to regular numbers. So we know people are kind of going back. We know it's really important to do that. But from our question that we asked, knowing how many how many weddings we need to have. There's a lot happening in the US. We know that it's there, but the easiest way for us to find that, and we're just going to, I'm going full view. So I'm going to come over here and bring out my calculator and just do the math with you really quick so you can see what's going on. So the easiest way to do this equation, because I'm a simple math kind of person, is number one, know how many weddings you can even handle a month. So for example, I have a lot of planners who I work with who really don't want to do more than 2 to 3 weddings a month. It's a lot of work. They want to spend time with their kids or something like that. So say, for example, that's happening for you, right? If you only want to do 2 weddings a month, that means in totality, you're only doing 24 weddings a year at the most, because that's where you want to be. So, or if you're a musician and you want to do 2 weddings a weekend, and that's 8 per month, that's 8 times 12. I'm not going to embarrass myself and try and do that in my head. You can have a max of 96 weddings a year. So first and foremost, do the quick math of just understanding what your goal number even is. Where are you at as far as how many quantity wise you want to be at, so that you can measure regularly against where you are right now. And you guys can take a moment and do that math yourself so that you know what's going on. And I pull out my calculator, so please don't feel like you need to do that math in your head. That's crazy. So that being said, first and foremost, I want you to think about how many weddings do you even need to be getting to per year to reach those goals. Also, are your packages priced correctly? When I say this, first and foremost, I want you guys, if you don't have strong packages, start thinking about that. People, we are, as a human race, we want simplicity. We want things to be easy to understand. And we most often, in a complicated sales scenario, which a wedding is, we go with the person that makes the process the easiest. So my advice to you when it comes to the sale is make the process the easiest. Have easy packages to understand. Don't have too many that it makes it scary for people to recognize. We want them to know what's going on. So a complicated sales scenario is anything where you have layers of moving objects, right? So I refer to this, anyone here who's ever bought a home knows that that's a complicated sale. You have multiple things happening. Not only are you buying the house, but you have your down payment and you have your PMI and you have moving costs and you have painting costs and all of these things, and they're all fluctuating at the same time. When you first do that in your life, it is a wildly complicated scenario. And if you ever do it again, it gets a lot easier. Well, a lot of people that are getting married are hoping that that's the only time that they're ever going to do this. So the complicated scenario that goes along with it needs to be someone who's going to handhold them. One of the easiest hand-holding activities that you can do with a client is making really strong and easy packages for them to understand and know that it's going to be something that works for them. So when we talk about packages, we not only want it to be simplified, we not only want it to be easy, but we want to make sure that we're charging an amount that isn't going to be outlandish for people. Spoiler. I'm not saying this to say that I think you should be charging less than you deserve. I want you to get the kind of weddings that you want. But in reality, you want basically 3 packages. You want a high-end package, you want a middle package, and you want a lower-end package. And you want to base that off of real numbers that are happening out there. So I did a Google search. It was maybe number 2 on the list. This is from weddingwire.com, telling brides what percentages they should be spending on their wedding for each type of thing that they're purchasing. So 50% on venue catering, cake rentals, 12% on photography, wedding attire, flowers, etc. The reason why this is important is, remember when I said earlier that the average cost of a wedding in Arizona is $29,000? We're going to make it easy and say 30 just to kind of round things out. But guess what? You can then simply do the math and understand where those numbers are lining up. Now, I don't agree with everything on this chart. Do I think that it's logical that someone would spend 3% on a wedding planner? No. But this is where girls are searching on the Google. This is what they're finding. It's important to know that this is kind of a brain space of where they're running into things at. So that being said, if we're working off of 30,000, that means in Arizona, theoretically, brides are going to be spending somewhere around 15,000 on venue and catering, you know, a 4,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 scenario on photography, 2,000 on, you know, flowers, 2,500 on flowers, reception music, 2,000, and then a little under 1,000 on the rest of it. That's important to know, because if that is what brides, if that's in true fact what's happening in your state, and I'm sure you know this from the kind of prices that you're charging and what people are working through, you want to make sure that you have a package that's going to fit into that scenario. If your goal, if your target demographic is the most brides out there, the most weddings out there, you need to be able to make sure that you have packaging and pricing that fits those scenarios. So I just want you to think about those two things. A, how many weddings do you have to have a year? B, are your packages not only lining up with what's out there, but are they going to equal the amount that you need to make? For example, let's do our little math scenario again. So for those of you that did the lovely, lovely calculator scenario the last time, let's do something fun. Let's say, and I think it's fun because I'm a salesperson, but you know, whatever. Let's say that you want to make 100,000. It's the most common number I hear, so that's what we're going to use. Let's say you also only want to do 2 weddings a month. So as we stated before, 2 times 12 is 24. Since we want to do math, we now know that we only want to do 24 weddings a year. We also want to make 100,000. As mentioned previously, one of the biggest things that I see people run into is that they separate how much money they want to make from what they're charging, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to understand what we need to make per wedding to reach our goals. So a very simple math scenario is taking that 100,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, divided by 24 means that we need to be making a profit of $4,000 an event to reach that number. So take a second and do that math yourself. Know how much money you want to make and divide it by how many weddings that you are doing per year or could be doing per year, and make sure that you're even remotely charging close to that number. Now, this is obviously simple math. This is me saying what this profit is on the back end, but it's really important to do these kind of numbers or these kind of equations regularly to even understand where you're lining up, right? Where are we in what we're charging versus how much we want to make? Because I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of clients that come to me because they say, gosh, I feel like I'm working more than ever. I feel like I have more clients than ever, and I still feel like I'm not making the money that I want to. This is why. It's because we're not doing the math to make sure we're charging the right amount to get there. Anyone have any questions on that? No? Okay, great. So those are some basic things I want you to think about. How many weddings you need to do per year, what you need to be charging. Is it working for you? Do you need to regroup? Okay, so why am I here again? To talk about the loveliness that is sales. I know all of you on this call have had some really great marketing people on here because I've worked with a few of them and they're fantastic. And marketing is incredibly important. Sometimes folks in any industry confuse marketing and sales to be the same thing. They are not. Marketing and sales are closely related, but I commonly refer to them as married, not the same thing. They need to work in conjunction with each other. They need to understand each other and be speaking the same language, but they are 2 totally different animals. Marketing is how people find you and how they get interested, and sales is what happens once they're interested. So I have a lot of folks that come to me because they say, I've upped my marketing, I've got my Facebook ads going, we're getting the leads in, but once I get them, I don't know what to do with them. Show of hands, does anyone on this call feel like they relate to that statement? Okay, so I'm seeing a few people there. So hi, that's why I'm here today. So this is the crux of why I got involved in the wedding industry. And it gets me so passionate and excited because I know how hard you guys are working, and I don't want you to do all the work and then have people dying on the vine when the opportunity is there for us to be able to take a hold of them. So let's talk about that. So we are going to dive right into the lead to consult map. And I'm going to be working off of the screen on this. You guys are going to get a copy, so feel free to take notes right now. Don't get overwhelmed on it, but know that we are going to chat all about this. So when I say lead to consult map, that's just an easy way to say it. In reality, this is what, let's see zoom to fit if that works. Not really, but sort of. This is what your sales process should be. Relatively close. You're going to need to change based on your specific industry. Maybe you have something in there like a venue visit or something very specific to what you're doing. But these are the basic things I want you to be sticking to when it comes to your sales process. So marketing is everything that happens before inquiry. People sometimes think that marketing like takes you through to like here. Nope. No. Marketing just gets you to a lead. And a lead in our world, in the sales world, is just someone who's interested, but you kind of got to pull them along a bit, right? So they kind of know about you. They know that they want to talk to you, but really there's a far way between that person and a signed contract. So let's talk about this. When we have a sales process, we just want to make sure that we're following it correctly because we want to be able to do two things about this. Number one, we want it to be in existence. We want something to be happening that is a process that we're following. But number two, most importantly, we want it to be consistent. When I talk to people about sales, one of the most important things about having a process like this is that we want it to be muscle memory. Often when I hear clients say that they feel like they messed up with a lead or that, people are falling through the cracks, it's not because you're not good at it. It's because we don't have a consistent message behind what happens next, how I follow up next. Do I call? Do I text? What am I saying? Ooh, you get so lost in that you end up not doing the thing or doing it days later, and it becomes frustrating for you to be following up with these people. So that being said, someone comes in as an inquiry. We want to be able to not only understand, I love the chat on this whole thing. We want to know that those folks are coming in as an inquiry. And like I said, that is a lead. We want to measure where these people are in our sales process so we know where things are falling through the cracks. If someone comes in as a lead and you have a ton of people hanging out here and they never get to the follow-up phase, we're not properly following up, right? So brief overview. These are the steps of the sales process, and then we're going to talk about each one of them. We have inquiry, we have follow-up, questionnaire sent, consult, proposal sent, proposal signed, retainer paid, planning, and completed. So let's briefly talk about each one of those. Inquiry, that's when someone comes in as a lead. They're going to hang out there until you start talking to them because a lead is different than you actually doing something with it. Once you start following up with someone, that's when they become more of this follow-up phase where you are actively pursuing them as a lead. One of the craziest things that I tell people when I talk to them about the follow-up stage is that I want your follow-up activity to involve these three things. 1, emails. 2, text messages. And 3, phone calls. Yes, I want you to pick up the phone and call these people. Show of hands. Who here is calling their leads? See some hands. I love that. I love the people I'm seeing hands on. That's amazing. I can't even tell you how many people get a little nervous by picking up the phone. And that's okay. We've gotten away from picking up the phone in our society. We've moved towards this world where we only contact people via text and email. Guess what? 10 years ago, the reason why I was using email was because nobody else was using it. Guess why I use phone calls now? Because people are terrified to pick up the phone and call their leads. So by you doing that, you're going to stand out, you're going to look different, and you're going to show yourself as someone different who's going to be able to show that client you can be helpful to them. In that regard, in sales, we also want to use different measures of contacting people as well, because really simple things. One, you might have bad information on any one of those three, and you could be doing all kinds of email activity and nothing's happening because they don't even know that. Two, you might just find a convenient way to contact somebody. Some people might be text people, some people might be email people, and some people might be phone people. So the reality of that fashion is just incorporating all three of those is going to give you the capability to make sure that you're touching as many people as possible and being able to create that conversation. Most importantly, when you are following up with a lead, I need you to constantly be in what I consider next step mode. Has anyone ever contacted a lead and felt like you got off the phone and nothing really happened? There's no next step as to what you're doing. Anyone experienced that before? I want you to go on to a phone call thinking about the end result. When you are in a follow-up, for literally every person on this call, when you are following up with a client, the next step should be a consult of some kind. This follow-up can be a very brief conversation. When I'm coaching people or I'm doing this for them in May Wedding Sales, when we're calling, your leads for you, it's literally a 30-second conversation. It's how are you, little rapport building, making sure we're getting you to a consult. That's it. Because the consult's where the magic's happening. We're following up just to get a date on the schedule. That's our job. So constantly when you are following up with someone in your brain, I want you to be thinking about my job is to leave this call, this email, this text message with a date and time to be talking to this person further. Questions? Okay, great. After you followed up with someone and you've gotten a date and time, your job when you're following up with someone is to get a date and time for a consult. I want you to immediately send out a questionnaire of some kind. Does anybody know why I want you to do that? Does anyone have any ideas?
Commitment.
What a great word to use. Yes. So in the sales world, we lovingly refer to this as creating customer buy-in. The process in which you're taking people through, sometimes, I don't know if you consider it a short sale or a long sale, but anytime it's not an immediate sale, right? Anytime it's a couple of weeks to figure something out, or maybe the consult's another week later, you want to create some sort of reason that not only does that person not forget you, but they have some sort of commitment to you. A questionnaire is a great way to kind of see how committed that person is, right? If they are interested, if they're providing you information, if they literally are just kind of giving you something back, you can start to see their level of interest and know that more likely they're going to be showing up at a consult, they're more involved, they're more interested in what's going on. Yes, it also helps you prepare. You can also use that information to be prepared for the call. But really, the activity of the questionnaire sent is about creating that customer buy-in and getting them involved. Sorry, don't know if you can hear my dog barking in the background. You're welcome if you do. We have a 3.5-week-old daughter downstairs and my in-laws are coming over. So it's very exciting downstairs. So we send out our questionnaire, we get that customer buy-in, and we get them to a consult. When we are on a consult, I give the advice of much of what I do with anything in this scenario. So first and foremost, I want your consults to be consistent. When I use the term muscle memory, it is a very important part of sales. Clients are going to tell you weird stuff. They're going to give you strange objections. They're going to say crazy things. But the kind of questions that you're asking on a consult should not be a surprise. That should be something that we have memorized, written down. We're kind of doing over and over again so that we are consistent. We know we're getting the right information. We're creating the right rapport. We are able to kind of flow through it easy and use it to our advantage. And we want to be able to do that. From Brandy, will you talk about lead inquiry tracking? Heck yes, I am, my friend. That's going to be talked about when we're kind of using how we're going to be measuring this whole thing, right? So, okay, inquiry, follow-up, questionnaire sent, consult. We want our consult to not only be consistent, but most importantly, I want you to be doing them on a video call. Show of hands, who started doing video consults this past year? Sort of, kind of.
You want face-to-face as well, right?
Yeah, face-to-face is great. I want you to continue to have a video component because the truth of the matter is, last year, according to weddingwire.com, Video chats with vendors went from 17% in 2019 to 33% in 2020. And that to me is one of those things that, while I want you to get back to face if you can, because that's the jam, I want you to have a video option that you feel very comfortable with. I have a lot of clients who sometimes when I start talking about consults, they're like, yeah, I do a video or I do a chat, whatever. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And they're like, oh, we talk on the phone. And I'm like, no. I want you to have a face-to-face option that is digital. So just feeling comfortable with it, knowing that it's there, giving your client the option of what they want to do, because I think that's going to be one of the biggest results that we see from 2020. People have gotten very comfortable in the parts of COVID that they like, right? And they don't want those to go away. So moving forward, we're going to want to give those options of a face-to-face or a video, and whatever the client wants to do is going to be best. Because in fact, in 2020, according to that same report from Wedding Wire, which I'm about to put in the chat, 1 out of every 10 couples that got married last year met 100% virtually with every single one of their vendors, AKA they literally didn't meet a vendor face-to-face until the day of the wedding. 1 out of 10. I mean, that's wildly insane. Even in a year like COVID, to like not be in person somewhere with somebody before the day of, I'm so type A, I would have such an aneurysm about that. But I think that's something moving forward that we just really want to keep in mind when it comes to our consults. Getting people on the phone, getting people on a video, it's really just about, again, that complicated sale. Who wins the complicated sale, but the person that makes it easiest for the client. So giving them those options that work for them and knowing that we're comfortable in it is a really important part of that. So we've had our inquiries. We've followed up with our clients. We've sent our questionnaire and got our buy-in. We've had our consults. Much like when I talked to you about the follow-up, we also want to be in next step mode for the consult. So when you are on your consult, this is a serious statement. I want you to end every consult with a proposal sent. You should never, ever have a consult where you are not sending a proposal of some kind. That is incredibly important. You need a system that's going to make your proposals easy, and I'll talk to you briefly about that, but there should never be a time that you are talking to a possible lead and not sending out a proposal of some kind at the end with an actual dollar amount on it. Does anyone here kind of have a simple and easy way? Are you already sending out proposals directly after your consults? Sort of, kind of, yes, no, yes, maybe. This is a really important step because, again, in a complicated sale, I feel like it's not only important to have that prepared, but some of these folks are talking to 10, 15 vendors at a time. So you want to make sure that you're capitalizing on the height of excitement. That's something that we talk about a lot in sales. The height of excitement that person has for you, which is directly after that call, and you want to use it to your advantage. So sending that out, getting our proposal sent, and moving on to a stage where we're signing people. Isn't that interesting, David? I feel the same way. So David mentioned that he met people on Zoom and then started, met them a couple times on Zoom and then met them face-to-face for the event. I feel like I'm not losing a whole lot between those two things either. Once you get comfortable with building that rapport, once you get comfortable with kind of connecting with people over Zoom, it really ends up being something where you can still have that same connection with a couple and use that to your advantage. So that's why I want you guys to get super comfortable incorporating that into your sales process, because you can still create all the same connectivity that you do with people. Barb, don't know what's Barb. Hello. Barb said, I can give them a quote at the time of their consult and I ask for the sale. That's damn right, Barb. I like that. I want you to be doing that every single time. So my opinion on that is, Barb, I know you do. I see Cakes by Whisk. So you're probably doing a product that is $1,000-ish or less. If you have a product that is $1,000 or less, you should be asking for the sale right then and there. If you have a product that is $1,000 or more, I always tell people that, hey, you're probably not going to make a decision on something that's more than $1,000 right here. But what I do want to do with you is I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about your proposal and send it out right now. And we're going to go ahead and book what I call a package chat, which is a week from the date of that consult. It's a half an hour in length. And we get it on the calendar for that date and time to talk about the proposal. You redline that proposal. You pull through that contract. You ask me questions, but we're going to get that package chat on the calendar right now because I don't want to lose them, right? So again, you're below $1,000, you ask for that sale right then and there. The truth of the matter is above $1,000, they are probably going to want to discuss that with someone. They're going to want to redline contracts. They're talking to multiple people. Use that to your advantage and make a package chat with them right then and there so that you have a date and time on the calendar to talk to them the next time. Don't let them fall off the map right there, and then you don't really know what happened to them. Who here has had a consult go really well and you send a proposal and then you never hear from them again? I know I have in my life, so I'm sure everyone has experienced that said activity. So use that to your advantage. Take my lovely package chat, call it your own. That's what I'm here for. And use that when you're on the call with someone. Say, hey, I know that you're talking to multiple people. I know that this is a big commitment. I want to help you understand that. I'm going to send you that proposal right now. Let's go ahead and set up that package chat so that you can review and be ready and redline and have your questions because I am here for that. Okay, so sales process. Inquiry, follow-up, questionnaire sent, consult. You sent your proposal. If you need to have your package chat, that's going to live right in here between proposal sent and proposal signed, right? You're going to have that somewhere in between. I have proposal signed and retainer paid as two different things because we all know that sometimes those happen at two different times and you have to be stalking people for said activity. So I have those as two different steps. And then obviously very easily we go into a planning phase where you're working with that client consistently, and then we're completed. And I don't consider a client completed until I've received a testimonial from them. So I have them hang out in there until then. So just to review: inquiry, follow-up, questionnaire sent, consult, proposal sent, proposal signed, retainer paid, planning. Now, you're going to get this. And I'm kind of doing a bird's eye view on a lot of this because I could talk about this stuff forever, but I know I have a time limit. So that being said, let's talk briefly about how you use that to your advantage. My lovely Brandy, if you guys don't have one yet, I need you to have a CRM. Does anyone here have a CRM to track their sales?
No.
That's okay. I want you to start looking for one. I recommend HoneyBook. That's what I use with all my clients. There's a billion out there. You can even use something like a HubSpot, which is free to start with, but you need to have a CRM. I recommend HoneyBook. That's what I require all my wedding clients to use. A CRM, if you're not familiar, is really just a client relationship management tool. It allows you to track your clients and your leads in a real way. One, a central place for all the information involved. Sending proposals, the emails, the contacts, their information, notes you have about them. It all lives in a digital location. Two, the most important thing is that you can see where your projects are living on this situation, on this sales process at any given time. And I say this with importance because I want you to be able to know where your projects are dying on the vine. If you find out that projects are consistently dying in the inquiry phase, what does that mean? It means we're not following up properly. If you find out that projects are consistently dying in the follow-up phase, what does that mean? It means that we are not doing a good job of following up and getting a date and time on the schedule. If you have projects that are consistently falling apart in the consult phase, that can be two things. Maybe our consults need a little oomph. Maybe we're not sending out the proper proposals and it's confusing. So the reason why I do this is because I never planned on being in sales. I grew up with two salespeople as parents. My dad was a car salesman. My mom was a realtor. So I just grew up around it and didn't realize how much it was in my blood, how much time I had spent around it. I think a lot of people look at sales and think there's some sort of magic trick happening in the background. There is not. It's literally just understanding what you're doing and measuring the small parts and pieces. Because if you're not looking at your system in some way, shape, or form like this, you could easily just tell yourself, man, I'm just bad at the sales side. Gosh, I just suck at that. No, friend. There is probably a piece of the sales process that's falling apart, that is an easy fix. We just need to use something like a CRM to understand where that's happening and be able to use it. So, things you've learned today. I want you to know how many sales you need to have this year to make your goals. Number one, I need you to have a goal. If you don't have a goal, please start there. Number two, I need you to know how many sales you need to make that goal. And number three, I need you to know on average what you need to be charging so that you know at the end of each month if you're consistently reaching that number or not. And then finally, I want you to take this, make sure, I know it's in the chat, print it out, write notes on it, ask me questions. I'm always here to help, but I want you to implement some sort of sales process. If you can, get yourself a CRM. I recommend HoneyBook. It's going to get you the options that you need. If not, I just want you to start tracking your sales somehow. Use this to your advantage. Obviously, you have my information. I offer everyone a free consult. So please go to my website and get one, and I will work through all this nonsense with you. And I think I just got in right under time, Scott. So please let me know if you have any questions. I ran through a lot, and you're awesome.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And you were very gracious with me privately sending you 10 minutes, 5 minutes,
I loved it.
2 minutes.
I was like, that's amazing.
Because I could just tell you were on a rant, you were on a roll, you were going, and there was nothing going to stop that train. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew, because I know when you present, sometimes you really get in the thick of things. Here is your contact information once again for everybody to reach out to you. I know you're reading the chat. Brandy was right on point. Wow, blow us away. Great stuff. Hope you're all taking notes. I did include in the chat the PDF that you shared with us. Thank you very much. And when we post the recording for all Event Ensemble members, not meters, for all Event Ensemble members, there will be links to all of that content as well so that you can have access to it. This was outstanding. How about a big hand for Sarah?
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Wow. Please don't run away. If you've got a few minutes, I'm going to try and ask and answer some questions. But first, if you could unshare your screen, I want to get a photo op. It's total, everybody on screen, if you know what I mean. And my good friend, Mr. Host, Perfect Host, is in the house. He popped in. I don't see his square anywhere, but Jim Cerrone is here as well. If you're having trouble, I can bounce you.
Yeah, please do. I made everyone okay. Small, and now I don't have to know how to get back to the thing.
That's okay. I just gave you the bounce. Don't be offended.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go full screen, and I'm going to take a quick picture, and then we're going to do some questions and answers. So I'm going to prep you, Sarah, as you're thinking about it. We're looking for how do you get those referrals? Pardon me, not the referrals, but the testimonies on the flight. So think about that. Give me a smile, everybody. On 3, 1, 2. Thank you very much. You're famous. You're fabulous. We love you. We also want to do a quick shout out to Joanne. She's a virgin in the house. First time here for Event Ensemble. Happy to have you join us. And so tell us, how do we get those testimonies right away?
So much like what I refer to as everything else, the greatest and easiest way to get testimonies is making it easy on the client. So often when I talk to people about getting testimonies, they do this like complicated nonsense where like you have to go to their website and submit a form and blah, 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 blah. Literally just have like someone text you a testimonial. Like it doesn't have to be some crazy situation. Do I want it to be some lovely form submitted and then it's super easy for you and they send you a JPEG of their face and it's fabulous and you can do all the things you need to? Sure. But when you're trying to get consistent testimonials, make it easy on the client. They can comment on your Instagram. They can put something on your Facebook. They can literally text you the testimonial. So tell them it can happen whatever way that works for them. And it's going to be a lot easier on you. Also, 2 things. You make it easy on them. But 2, I did this very nerdy thing for a long time called mock trial, where you pretend to be an attorney. And in the world of mock trial, you learn how to cross-examine people, and we call it leading the witness, right? So you ask questions that help get them to the statements that you want them to make. When you're trying to get a testimonial out of someone, one of the worst things we can do is like, give me a testimonial, period. Instead, we know the crap that we want them to say. We know the things that we're trying to get out of them. So if it's, How did I make your day easy on you? Did you enjoy the colors that we brought to the environment? Was the decoration on your cake to your liking? Like, ask them specific questions that are going to pull out the information that you actually want to have happen, and it's going to end in a better result as well.
I love that. So I'm kind of curious here about the call. I love that you drove that point home. And I just want to remind everyone that a call typically ends up being a voicemail message.
Yes.
And you want to have multiple messages in your mind ready to go. You could even use your CRM to help you keep track of this. So I left message number 1, and then 7 days later, message number 2. And they are, in fact, a mini performance. And you don't have to be Mr. Entertainer to be engaging, because we're all people. And that is that we're in front of an audience, whether we're doing the cake, whether we're doing the DJ or the tents, we need to be people persons. And so your ability to communicate, your ability to communicate with people is what you are actually doing. It's this mini performance on a phone message. Any feedback on that, Sarah?
Yeah. So Brandy, what up? Scripts are your friend. I've been in this for 15 years and I still write scripts for myself. So the companies that I work with, we have a script written for both voicemails that we leave that's on everyone's desktop. I even have scripts in the notes of my phone that I use for text messages for clients, because consistency is your friend and discipline is your friend, because you're trying to talk to a lot of people. So you want to make it easy on yourself. Again, muscle memory, muscle memory, muscle memory. Leaving a voicemail should not be the thing that throws you. It's like the place where we can be memorized. So keep it simple. Hi, my name is, I saw that you responded to our ad. We do these 3 things. I do consults on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Please let me know what you would like.
Okay, I like it. And I'm going to take a slightly different approach on your process, because at the end you say completed. And for me, it's never completed. It's a segue. And the segue is a customer for life. And that means that we continue to communicate with them, to share with them. And it's not always about our business, but it's in other ways. Your CRM can help you with that. And we should chat about how I use mine and compare notes, Sarah. But essentially, staying in touch with them means that they're going to refer you again, and they're going to use you again. And so it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. And important to what Scott's saying, you know, I work with a lot of clients who, because of what they do, it's easy to think it's a one-time scenario, right? Like maybe like a planner or a venue or something like that. But even a venue or a planner, the truth of the matter is, you know, anybody on this call, in theory, there's no reason why this person wouldn't want to use you again. You know, I work with photographers all the time. Like if you're photographing a wedding, A, you're going to want to send them an email every year on their anniversary. And B, they're going to be doing things like having babies, taking family photos, you know, doing things that offer the opportunity for you to work with them again. So that's something when you want to think about, you know, a project being completed is, how would I work with this client again? What would I need to do to make that process easy? And where's it going to fit into their life that I can advertise it properly?
Excellent. And I'll
I
close
see a hand
with,
up
oh, I got a hand up? Go ahead. I'll shut up.
from Lee.
Yeah.
Mr. Lee.
One of the things we do when we're selling vacations, honeymoon,
Which sounds nice, by the way.
revenue 2020, 0.
Yeah.
Is before they leave on their vacation, we ask them what they want to do next.
Yes.
Where do they want to go? What do they want to do?
What a lovely example of next step mode, Lee. Yes, that's exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So, number one, what a great example. If you're helping them figure out where their honeymoon is, in theory, they probably hope to take a vacation every year on that date. So why not be advertising that properly and putting them back into your, oh, I'm pointing like you guys can all still see my screen, back into your follow-ups for that time next year. A CRM will solve that for you, because you will be able to make a task with a date associated with it, so you don't have to think about it. And you know to follow up with them next March and saying, hey, boo-boo, I know you're traveling in April. Where are you going? Would you like some help?
Right.
Or like the comedian who tells a joke
Mhm.
and then tells a few more jokes, and then the next joke actually references the previous joke 3 or 4 jokes back. It's referred to as a callback, and it
Mhm.
causes the audience to have an even greater laugh.
Mhm.
I'm sure Sean does something very similar when he's performing his magic tricks. So the idea here is that you can actually do the same within your marketing process. A recent client who I did a bar mitzvah for 3 years ago,
Mhm.
she contacted me regarding her son's bar mitzvah, 3 years later, second mitzvah in the family. And I sent her a picture of her young man from 3 years ago from the previous mitzvah. And she said, "Oh, that's my favorite shot of him."
Uh, Scott, that's adorable. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, polish, people. Polish. When we talk about whether it's your phone messages or your consultations or your presentations, put some polish on that. And every one of us here and everyone in Event Ensemble is here for one another. I can't tell you how many times Curtis Whipple and many other of you have said, "Can I use you as a sounding board? Can I practice my pitch on you? Will you play stupid and let me just, throw this out at you?"
Mm-hmm.
And we even did something very similar with Lee and Ingrid before they did their spotlight, where we did the prequel and all of that. It's all part of the process to make you prosperous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Scott, can I say something?
You should say something, David.
Something. All right. Sarah Mae, thank you very much. This was great. Your emphasis on the CRM is right on. And everyone in EE should know, if they don't know, Scott has a CRM that you can get from him, and he can train you on how that works. So
Do it,
support
Scott.
Scott, use his CRM. Thank you.
Shameless plug. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate it. Checks in the mail. Sarah, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Sales is your friend. I know it doesn't always seem like that. I know it can seem like an overwhelming part of your business, but know that it's really more about a process and less about you thinking your skill level is strong enough, because you're already good at what you do. You wouldn't be here if you weren't good at what you do. So know that 2021 is going to be an amazing year. Things are coming back really, really strong. And that the people that you're talking to are just like fabulous opportunities for you. Looking at each one of them as an opportunity that they want to be talking to you, and know that your sales is really just about following the same damn process every time. And you're going to win more often than you know.
That is so powerful. If it's not broke, people, don't fix it. And you could take a look around the room this morning. Elizabeth, Rana, and several others, actually, it's not their business. They are the sales representative for the business that they represent. And when your business gets to a point, Melanie as well, when your business gets to a point, then you get to continue to make cakes and let somebody else do the sales process. And hallelujah for that. All right. Any last questions, ideas, or options that we want to talk about for Sarah?
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It was fabulous.
I hope you have a great day.